Joe, glad to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So tell me, how do you see the African startup ecosystem in the face of the pandemic and a difficult 2020?
Oh, well, I think it's been a really challenging year for all of us. But if there's one thing I'd say that African startups they are, and they've shown time and time again, its resilience. This isn't our first rodeo in terms of crisis, unfortunately. But I've seen businesses really take to heart that Churchill adage of never let a good crisis go to waste. So naturally startups with a focus on things like travel and tourism have been quite badly hit. But the beauty, I think, of many of the tech startups, particularly in Africa, is that a lot of them were already quite well positioned to deliver all of their services online. And those that weren't, many have actually pivoted quite successfully. One of the areas I've been looking at quite closely is e-commerce, and it's been a really interesting one to watch because, in general, they had quite a tough few months over hard lockdown. But those that were able to weather the storm have actually come back stronger. And people don't really want to go into malls quite so much, and people are getting used to shopping online more. So it's going to be great to see where that goes in the future.
This brings me to the question of resilience. How resilient do you think the average African startup is, or the ecosystem in general?
Yeah, so I'd say that the wonderful thing about startups in general really is that they have a greater ability to maintain flexibility, maintain agility, certainly more than the larger businesses. And perhaps they've recognized that their core offering has been hit with the crisis, but the many startups that I've been looking at have seen that they've still got customers in need. They've still got audiences that they need to speak to. And so they've pivoted to support them in different ways. There's a co-working space that I know here in Cape Town. And they were closed for a long period over lockdown due to all of the restrictions. But what they ended up doing is compartmentalizing their office into small individual pods. And they rented gym equipment, and then they started offering these one-person fitness pods. And with gyms closed, this was a fantastic way to keep offering value to their customers in a slightly different way. So that was really cool to see.
Interesting model. Again, the other question, with startups like that and other startups, do you think what we've seen in the ecosystem is more of a question of by chance, or has it been deliberate? What's your take?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. As I mentioned earlier, there's certain industries that have naturally been hit harder than others. But I also think that those businesses that have been able to conserve money, to be lean and agile, and those that have continued to really keep the needs of their customers in mind, they've tended to do okay. They've tended to do better. So these elements have far more to do with the core values of the business, the structures of the business, and the business models themselves. So if these companies are able to continue that, then external factors that you don't have control over will naturally have less impact on you as an organization.
Funding remains a challenge. Pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. Do you see the strategy around funding changing anytime soon?
Look, I think our economies are in recovery mode. Our economies have been hit, and whilst there is still incredible opportunity for investment, and that I believe will continue for those startups that have a good scalable idea and that are well run. But I would still recommend that these startups do think about conserving their money and to look at other ways, of ensuring that they're lean and their expenditure is intentional.
Do you think, looking at Africa and the challenges that Africa is faced with, do you think technology can solve all or some or most of the problems?
Yeah, look, I'm a tech head, so I'm always going to say yes to that question. But yeah, look, I think when we think about technology these days and we think about tech startups, we're not just talking about the technology in and of itself. We're talking about how we are delivering these services, how we're delivering these products. So in that regard, tech really is core to the vast, vast majority of other industries, other verticals out there. And what's wonderful about the startups in Africa is that mobile is still number one, and that a lot of the mobile innovation across different industries, across different verticals, has then been able to be used elsewhere around the world. And it's great to see startups scaling at that level. And I think that technology is it's going to continue to be a huge driver for us.
One question I'd love to ask when I get to interview women in technology is, how can we increase diversity in the African ecosystem?
Yeah, diversity is it's a challenging one, because I think it means a different thing to different people. But one thing I've seen is that it's really important for entrepreneurs to continue to ask themselves, what can I do to ensure that I'm relevant to as many people as possible? So I think individually, there's fantastic communities out there for women. There's Future Females, She Leads Africa, and there's it's important to be part of these communities as well. Even if you're not a woman, being able to talk to that base is really important. And also, I'd say that the way that I would look to grow and look to maintain relevance is to ensure that you are speaking to people that are different from you. If you hang out with people that are the same as you only talk business with people that are the same as you, then you're restricting yourself. If you're able to find different perspectives, different views, then that's going to help your business as well.
Yeah. So Joe, let's talk about the Cape Town ecosystem. Kenya, Tunisia, and Senegal have come up with a startup law to support the ecosystem. Are we expecting anything from South Africa? And tell us a bit about the Cape Town ecosystem.
Yeah, look, I mean, Cape Town is a fantastic ecosystem. It's very much a hub. It's very much a tech hub. If you look, a lot of the hubs at the accelerators, a lot of them are based here. And it's a beautiful place. I think a lot of the founders here, a lot of the entrepreneurs are inspired by the natural beauty here. And it's just what really makes it unique, I think, is it's how diverse it is. There's people from all walks of life solving real challenges that are relevant not just for us, but for the rest of the country, the rest of the continent even, and even globally. So it's really fantastic to walk into some of the like Workshop 17 here and some of the other areas and just get talking to people about what they're doing. It's really inspiring. If I ever feel like I'm in a bit of a lull, I go there and I just chat to people. And it's a great way to just tap into what's going on and what's making people do cool things right now.
Yeah, so any startup law coming from in South Africa?
I wouldn't say there's any one particular one. I think it's going to be a case of startups needing to continue talking until we get to that point.
All right, Joe, always a pleasure. I'm so excited about the possibilities of the startup ecosystem across the continent. I wish you all the best. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
I've been chatting with Josephine Eyre, a tech communication and marketing consultant working with numerous startups across Africa. As you've heard from her, there is indeed a lot of possibilities ahead, but we must create the right kind of environment for the ecosystem to continue to thrive and blossom. It's a wrap on this edition of the show, but the conversation continues online. Join us on social media. Remember, you can watch the entire show on Channels TV YouTube or cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.